a passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver. Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes. We are on the second Thursday of the month in the new year of 2021. Now, for all of those of you who missed it, on December 31st at 11:59, all the bad things that had happened in 2020 went away. And at 12:01, we suddenly were living in paradise. No problems, no pandemic, no... And if anybody would like to know where I get my drugs from, they're really good, and I'm happy to share it. I'm still hearing people out there that are saying, I thought 2021 was going to be better. It's going to get better. It will get better. And it will have moments that will get worse. And it will get better again. It's kind of sort of called life. It is never a straight, flat line. It's not like walking down on the road where you start at the beginning of Kansas, and you end at the end of Kansas, and it never changed elevation at all. It would be nice if life was like that. Probably a little boring, maybe, but it would have some advantages for the first, I don't know how many years. Then you would get bored of perfection. You would get bored of it always being good, and you would not think, to you, a lesser good would be bad. Now, with everything that has happened, we can appreciate the smallest of good because we have such a cliff jump difference between how bad it can really get. With thousands more dying all the time and getting COVID, with the federal government fumbling on trying to get out the vaccinations and saying to the states, no, it's your problem. We don't want to get settled. We're not going to give you any extra money. We're not going to give you any extra help. And in fact, we're not even going to get the vaccines to you accurately some of the time, and we're going to screw all of that up. But then we can blame you. And then the states say, well, we can blame you, federal government, because you didn't give us this and you just didn't give us that. And another 100 people die, or another 1,000 people die. Or I think this week there was a day that was over 4,000 people that died. Well, people are pointing fingers. Other people are dying. Here on the Dr. Kevin Show, we like to use the second Thursday of the month with myself and my regular second Thursday of the month partner in crime, Rev Lori Powers-Otto, to inspire, to motivate. We call it Thoughtful Thursday. We want to make you thoughtful. We want to make you think. And we are looking to inspire and motivate you, this as well. But we didn't gather a bunch of feel-good stories, and they're out there. And if you choose to want to find them, you will. If you want to find some good news and you have access to a computer, you can type it in and you will get tons of good news articles. That's where Lori and I get them from. You don't think we run around the country on our tricycle, do you? Eavesdropping at doors to see if we can hear good news for you. No!
Well, just once. Just once. We just did that.
Okay. However, part of this Thursday we have dedicated to help you be thoughtful. Maybe to inspire, maybe to motivate. I'm not here to rub all the bad news in your face. You know what it is. It's getting rubbed in your face as if you were a bad kitty or doggy that are going, that are not going to the bathroom at the right times in the right places. I have one of those right now. But that being said, also, you have to say, how do we get here? And how do we move on? How do we get beyond it? How can we make 2021 our best new year, whether it's a good new year in the world or not. Because in every year, I actually had a really great 2020. I did lose a few people, but I lose a few people every year. I'm old now. You lose people. It happens. People die. Young people die. Old people die. And it always seems like never the right people die. But that's okay. But in today's Thoughtful Thursday, I am not jumping Lori by surprise. She caught on to me, and she called earlier this week and said, okay, can you give me some idea what we're going to talk about and not spring it on me live on air? And I'm like, well, that's no fun, Lori. Where's your sense of adventure? But I gave in. You can respond to that if you'd like.
Well, I sometimes stick in the mud. I just like to know what's coming.
Oh, wouldn't we all? And I thought you were psychic. Oh,
shame on you.
Oh, I know. But
I did.
This
and that's
show.
Why,
go ahead.
But I did, and that's why I messaged you. Because I am psychic. I knew it was coming.
You knew something was coming. You just wanted to tune in the station a little.
Right.
There you go. She sat there with her crossed legs and her palms clasping each other in front of her going, is Kevin going to stick with what we agreed to, or is he going to pull a fast one? Oh, fast one. I'm giving him a call this week. The hell with that. I want to see what this fast ball is ahead of time. That's what she was thinking. That's what came out of that. But that being said, we do want to talk about how do we get here, where is here, and how do we get somewhere better? Because if I want to inspire you and motivate you, giving you some tools and techniques and skills and some different perspectives is some of the best way to do it. Not just sharing the good stories, though we will go back to sharing good stories because I think it's good to hear good stories. But before we do anything else, I am going to read a poem that I wrote shortly after that. It was after that little bump we had in D.C. last week. Just a tiny little one. Just a little, that bump. I'm sure some of you may not have even heard that there was a bump in D.C. last week. And so I want to share this poem that I wrote. Then Lori and I are going to talk about it a little bit. And then we're going to talk about where are we and how do we move forward? And how do we make sure no matter what goes on in D.C. or your state capital or goes on in the world in general, that you can still have the best year possible? Because you are responsible for your own best year possible. You can't be responsible for the best year that the earth has ever had. I mean, that's long gone by. That ended the day humans started walking on it. It's all been downhill since then. Ask any of the animal species that predate us. But, amen. Tonight's poem, Bleeding the Red, White, and Blue. I bleed the red, white, and blue. I bleed for me. I bleed for you. But what I bleed most is the red, white, and blue. Red for rage, your rage that led you to do what you did to my country. My rage at what you did to my country. White, the blinding light of wanting to believe that you could go back when time only moves in one direction, forward. And blue, the deep sadness as what you lost and how putrid the wound you hid that led you to believe the lies that you did and justify trying to overthrow my red, white, and blue. Sad for me, sad for you. Sad for the innocent people hurt on both sides. But sad most for my red, white, and blue. Thoughts, Miss Lori? Just a little light piece. Just like that little bump last week.
But I think you hit every note. I mean, I had this, obviously, we're all talking about it. The whole world is. And I was talking to one person, and their response was anger. And I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong to be angry. I'm angry too. But I look at those people who, I mean, I'm sorry, it was a terrorist attack, a domestic terrorist attack. Well coordinated, it was. And the more we find out, the more terrifying it is. But my heart still breaks for those people, how little they must love themselves, how little they must love others. It breaks my heart for them. So instead of sending them hate and anger, I've called on all my connections to send them love. Because people who know love will not do things like that. They'll work together. And we can have differing opinions and all of that. But if we don't work together, well, I can't say what I want to say, but you know what it is. It's going to destroy us all. So I think your poem brought all those points to home, out into the public.
As this unfolds, it is, who do you need to be angry at is the question. It's okay to be angry. Our very foundation was shaken, just like it was in 2001 when we had a foreign terrorist attack. Now we've had a domestic terrorist attack, but it's still a terrorist attack. It's a terrorist attack against democracy.
Yes.
It is. And it was condoned, it was promoted, it was supported, and it even got its creation by the fact of our tolerance of 4 years of a temper tantrum, oversized, narcissistic child in the White House. But
Yeah.
these people can't see that, because what they saw was this man was going to turn back the hands of time. They were going to somehow be in some golden American dream position that they were promised, or that their parents promised them, or the media promised them, or somebody promised them along the way, that they were told that if they worked hard or they did this or they did that, it would get better. And it can sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we work very hard and it gets worse, and we have to stop and ask ourselves the question, am I working hard in the right direction? If you keep on going, I want to walk a mile forward, and suddenly you realize after a half a day of walking that you're 2 miles away from the goal. You might want to look and see if you're headed in the wrong direction.
Right.
But, we need people to be educated. And in fact, our producer, and I were talking about that before we went on air, about how he put something in his feed, and there's a Winston Churchill reference, and most people didn't get it. And I said, well, welcome to the age of illiteracy.
Yeah.
That we almost take pride in having a highly inaccurate version of our past. And when we get an accurate version of our past, there's too much guilt. There's too much pain. We don't want to see who we were and where we came from. Well, that's not going to ever change it. But we need to see where they came from. Where would these people came from that felt so desperately disenfranchised by where this country was headed that they didn't think there was a place for them anymore, that they had to follow somebody who was clearly only involved in their own self-interest, who tried to make his friends and family richer, who used power as a weapon, that was a bully. What was it within the wound of ourselves that we could not face that made us idolize this person? Because we are deeply, deeply wounded as a country. And this is the evidence of it. So we have to understand the wound, Lori.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
Where where do you, when I asked you this question, and I didn't know I was going to ask you, so I'm not trying to jump you, but where do you think our greatest wound is, or one of our greatest wounds? And then I'll share one as well. But not only what is it, but how do we get over it?
Well, I think that one of our greatest wounds in this country is that we've bought into fear. And we unknowingly inundate ourselves with fear from what we watch and what we read and who we listen to. And we just let our fears grow, and then they get out of control. And, so many years ago, many years ago, because I'm not much younger than you, I had to look at myself and say, okay, I'm afraid of this. What am I going to do about it? And I started confronting my fears head on instead of running from them, instead of hiding from them, instead of blaming somebody else. I had to look within and face my fears. And that's what these people need to do. I mean, all those white supremacists or all those anti-Semite people, they're afraid of people of color, or they're afraid of Jewish people. But why? Why are you afraid? Why are you letting fear control your decisions in your life? You need to look inside yourself and find out where that fear came from. Now, for many people, it came from their family line, or it came from a bad experience. I knew a person once that had gotten beat up by 3 black men. Just, they were walking down the street and for whatever reason decided to beat this person up. So they became fearful of black people. But when they were, a couple of years later, they were at a spot in their life where they had to work with a black person. And they became, it was hard, because they were afraid, but they became best friends. And this person realized that not all black people are like that. Just like not all white people are, I have to keep checking my language here, not all white people are selfish jerks. Right? So, I mean, you have to look at the fear, figure out where it came from, and take steps to release yourself from it.
Good. I think that's a good place to start. And there is our first break. And when we come back, I want to comment on what Lori said, and then I'll share what I think one of our greatest wounds is.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from New Thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes. This is our second Thursday of the month, which means it's Thoughtful Thursday. Sometimes we share stories to make you thoughtful or to inspire or motivate you, or we talk about people that are doing thoughtful things in the world. With the latest set of events, Lori, Powers-Otto, and I are actually talking about things that hopefully will make you thoughtful and go, with everything that has happened and is happening, where do we go from here? So I do want you to invite you to call in if you would like at 202-570-7057. That's 202-570-7057. You're welcome to share your thoughts. We're talking about what are the wounds that are deep within America, the country itself, within us Americans, that have led to the recent events, and how do we heal them? How do we recognize them? How do we see them? How might they play out in us? And again, what can we do? Because it's always about moving forward. Lori, you brought up that you think fear. And I think that one of the big contributors to fear has been the amount of media and lack of accountability that happens for people in power.
Yes.
No matter what that power is. And there are good people and bad people in everything. You and I have had this conversation ad nauseum.
Yes.
There's
exactly.
just like you were. Yep. But we don't hold people in power accountable as much as we should. They are allowed to use positions of authority, whether that is police officer, or whether that is even doctor, or whether that is priest or preacher, politician, judge. We elevate these people to a place of power and then don't hold the string of accountability. So I think that on one hand, so when we look at that, the way forward is we do have to hold accountability. We do have to step up to the plate, and we do have to make sure that our voice is heard, our vote counts, and we don't get the apathetic pass anymore.
Right.
The self-justifying, oh, my voice doesn't matter, my vote doesn't matter, what I do or say doesn't count. That is a load of crap.
Yes, sir. Count. Absolutely.
And by you speaking out, by you voting, by you participating, by you taking ownership of the process, which when you don't take ownership of, the people in power, they manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
They dominate it. And it is the cost of the everyday American. So that's what I wanted to say about your fear. Your wound of fear, I should say, not your fear personally. I know your fear personally is going on the radio show with me and having me jump you.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear. You got it.
Okay.
But I just want to your point. You're right. We need to. These people stoke your fear on purpose, because if they keep you afraid, they keep you controlled. So you need to get involved with the processes to reduce your fear and reduce their they're in control of you. So you have to get involved. You have to stand up. You have to speak up. And then you'll find that most of what they've told you is a load of crap. And we do need to hold them accountable. We need to hold them all accountable when, we need newscasters like we had, 40 years ago that would call them out on their lies. And would only report
the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So where do you what do you think the biggest wound is?
I think one of our biggest wounds is our double standard. I think our idolization of the famous and the wealthy, our double standard, and this goes right hand in hand with the whole accountability piece that I was just talking to you about, of not always holding people in power accountable. But the fact that we create a layer of people that we disenfranchise, we destroy their self-worth, we go after their value, we allow lies to exist about different groups of people without challenging them. We give up, and it goes back to a double standard of the people in power will do whatever it takes to stay in power. And it's never been any clearer than since that last impeachment trial at the beginning of 2020, when they were warning, if you let him get away with this, he will go crazy. And they're like, he's got one more year. What could he possibly do? Well, now we know.
Right.
But it is that double standard that somehow the wealthy deserve more benefits. Here, you're worth $5 billion and you're making millions of dollars every year. Let's give you more tax cuts.
Right.
Excuse me? Okay. And we play this double standard, by allowing poor education to happen in this country. We don't guarantee the same level of education to all people. We set certain people up to be failures, to be the backs that other people walk on to get ahead in the world. We promote it, we support it, and the problem is, as we have had this more breakout, and our dynamics are in the process of changing, and the demographics are in the process of changing. There have always been poor white folk, and poor black folk, and poor brown folk, and poor Asian folk, and poor all kinds of folk. That's all folks. Right. We have poor bunny rabbits and rich bunny rabbits. But we go out of our way to keep a working class, menial level set of people so that we can take advantage of them, that we can actually benefit off the fact of keeping them disenfranchised, keeping them stupid, keeping them down, paying them not even a living wage. And yet, where would we be without them? Who was working most of this pandemic? The majority were not the college educated. There were plenty of college educated, don't get me wrong. There were doctors and nurses on the front line, and there were all sorts of people. But I think if you look at the percentage of the demographics, I think a lot more of them were your barely making minimum wage, may not even have had health insurance, risking their life because they had no choice, because they wouldn't eat that week or have a roof over their head if they didn't.
Right.
And so this double standard that somehow some Americans are not as valuable and that other Americans are more valuable, and then the rest of us fit in the middle, but that it is okay to support and keep the wealthy wealthy without holding them accountable. It is okay to keep the poor communities with crappy education systems so they don't get above themselves. And sadly, I think that go ahead.
Sadly, that is correct.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what you're saying is absolutely the way that we run this country. We need to make the wealthy do their fair share. Because if this pandemic has taught us nothing, is that we cannot live without the grocery store clerks and the nurses and the teachers and the truck drivers and these people that we take for granted are the only thing that's kept us alive this year. So we need to reframe our priorities. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
Nope. Tangent away. Feel free. And if anybody else would like to tangent away, feel free to do it by calling 202-570-7057. That's 202-570-7057. We love to have call-ins. But I think it is that if we talk fast enough and we allow our politicians to be fear mongers, back to your first wound, dealing in fear, that we allow them to twist the truth without holding them accountable. I've come out with stuff and people have gone, oh, that would be nice, but that's crazy. That ain't never going to happen. But I'm always like, if a politician is caught outright lying to the people, I think that they should be more severely treated. That if you are in an elected office and you're caught doing something, you should have to spend twice as much jail time, get twice as many fines, and lose the right to ever serve again.
Amen, brother.
We have to hold these people accountable. I've got a newsletter that's coming out a week earlier than usual because I have the Web of Light Expo speaker series on Sunday, and so I'm doing one last promotion push for people to come and join the conference. It's an all-day. It's a pretty full day, not an all day, but it's a pretty full day. It's 6 hours of a Zoom conference with a number of speakers and healers. You're going to be joining us in March for my one in March. Yeah. And, yep. And so I actually sent out to anybody that was a line worker, anybody that was was in this pandemic, that's doing any kind of service work, that, this is a $125 event, because I have 5 top speakers giving you tools and techniques and inspiring and motivating you, and their time is valuable and they're here to help you. But if you're a care worker, you can go for $1.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That's a wonderful gift.
It's like, if you're there, and I've said to my people that are running it for me, I said, if somebody reaches out and says, well, I don't know if I'm a care worker or not, I'd really like to go, and money is difficult, I'm like, let them come. Let them come. I don't care. I want people to have resources available to them. Of course, bills have to be paid. Of course, my speakers need to be paid. They have a mortgage, too. They need to put food on their table. I need to put food on my table, although I could probably eat a little less than I do. But I still need to put some kind of food on my table. And if nothing else, I got to put some food in the cat dishes. Right. My cats get awfully mean if their dish gets empty. So, yeah, money needs to get made. Of course, some money needs to get made. But I am perfectly happy with just getting those people in there and maybe getting one thing that can help them feel a little better, or one insight or one perspective that's going to help them move forward or that they can take. And so I basically said, put it out there, promote it, advertise it, tell them if they're a care worker. They'll send an email to info@weboflight.com, info@weboflight, weboflight.com, and you will get a link where you only have to pay $1 to attend this program. Because I don't want anybody to not attend it because they can't afford it. But if somebody can afford it, the bills still need to get paid. But I have my newsletter coming out this week, and I actually have that poem as part of the video that I'm doing it. But I am very serious, and I know that I am going to have people jumping all over me for saying this, and I don't care. We had 147 traitors in our House of Representatives who stirred this cauldron to try to make sure that their party stayed in power no matter what the cost. We had 8 senators. We had a vice president and a president. As far as I'm concerned, they all committed high crimes and treason. This president is going out the door thinking that the death penalty is just fine and good and great. And how many people can I make sure get killed by it before I leave? He's been pushing that. Well, you know what the penalty is for high crimes and treason? The death penalty. So let's see if he's as fond about it when he's the first one in the firing line. Because I would like to see every last one of them hang from the gallows, especially as we are finding out that some of them were leading tours the day before to let those people actually see and get a layout so they would know exactly where to go and who to try to intimidate to see if they could overthrow this election. That is sedation. This is a coup. It was an attempted coup. And everybody that was involved with the lie in hoping to overthrow a legitimate election needs to be swinging from the gallows. We have to send a message. And I know it sounds harsh, but we have let our government, and this is all the parties, this is not just a Republican thing. We have let our government ruin the American dream.
Yeah.
With their bickering, with their not getting things done. The only thing that you know is ever going to get passed in Congress is a raise for Congress regularly. And our defense budget bill, because so many of them are getting kickbacks for it or have connections on both sides of the aisle. The lobbyists keep writing the checks. We have created this wound. And it goes back to that wound of a double standard. Our politicians should not be treated like they are above the law. They should actually be held to a higher standard where if there is any evidence that they have broken the law, that punishment should be twice as harsh. So I will get off the soapbox for a second and let you comment. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you. And I will take it a little further because I wholeheartedly agree with you that they should all be charged with treason. We'll talk about it after the break, apparently.
And we'll be right back here on the Dr. Kevin Show.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
911, what is your emergency?
My kid shot himself.
All right, where's the wounds?
911, what's your emergency?
Please help. My son shot his brother.
911, what is your emergency?
Okay.
911, please state your emergency.
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns.
It wasn't locked.
Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the last segment of the Dr. Kevin Show here on the second Thursday of the month, where we're doing Thoughtful Thursday. And we're having some conversations that, if you're listening, should be making you very thoughtful. Usually we go for stories that inspire and motivate, and we will continue to do that. And we look for people to call in or share stories or send them to them. You can send a story to me or to Lori. You can send it to Dr. Kevin at MyDrKevin.com. That's DRKEVIN at MYDRKEVIN. You can post it on the Facebook line, the Facebook page, fan page for the Dr. Kevin Show. If you put in the Dr. Kevin Show on Facebook, you will find the fan page, and you can put in a link to a story that you think is really phenomenal, or just write the story so that our Facebook readers can read it, and then we can read it on air for those people who aren't going to go and do that. Aren't going to go and look at it on Facebook, but we will share it on air for you. But right now, we're trying to make you thoughtful in where do we go from here. And a lot of people, and of course, a lot of them are actually Republicans. And again, I'm not happy with any of our government right now, but Republicans say, oh, well, bygones need to be bygones, and you can't have healing if you're going to go after him. You just have to let it go by the boards. No. We keep saying that, and we keep on buying into that. Just like if we cut corporate taxes, they will hire more employees. If we give the rich people, if we give those rich folk less taxes so they have more money, they're going to spend it, and we'll benefit from it. We'll get a little extra money when we package their groceries, maybe, or maybe not unless Congress passes a law that makes the grocery store, whose owners just ended up making more money because it's a big corporation, and they get to pass it off to their stockholders, most of which are not the bag people or the cashiers or the people that are making your sandwiches at the deli or are working at McDonald's and giving you your lunch. Those people are not stockholders of McDonald's for the most part, I suspect. They probably don't benefit from that tax cut. But the Walmarts, the McDonald's, the Amazons, they can't pay a living wage, but they can pay benefits out to their stockholders. It's a vicious circle, and we let it go on, and it's time for it to stop. Lori, you had some thoughts about the last segment. I'm going to pass it back to you so you can share those thoughts.
Well, it just ties into what you were just saying, but with the politicians, most companies have a morality clause. I'm pretty sure in their oath of office and stuff, they have morality clauses. If they don't, they should. You can't lie. You can't cheat. You can't steal. Those are basic tenets of society. When the rest of us lie, cheat, or steal, we get in trouble for it. We have to stop rewarding these people for doing the things that goes against our greater good. They need to work together. And I know this is not the typical Thoughtful Thursday. This is not full of sunshine and rainbows. But this should be making us all think. It should be making us all thoughtful. Those people work for us. We are not beneath them, as they would like us to think. They're our employees. And we wouldn't want our employees lying to us, stealing from us, and cheating us. So why do we let them do it? But the only way to change this is for people, you, me, everyone we know, to stand up, speak up, and get involved and make a difference. Because this world can be such an amazing place. And this country can be the beacon of hope that it was at one point. I know people leaving this country faster than I know people coming in. And that's a shame, because the regular, everyday Americans, we're good people. We help our neighbors, and we care about each other, and we do, get involved in our communities, and we try to make a difference. So we can't let the fear mongers make people fearful and make them do crazy, ridiculous things, because a lot of those people involved in the riots, as they like to call it, on the Capitol, the regular Joes and Jennies, whatever you want to call them, are expressing regret. They're like, I got caught up in the fever the fever caused by politicians. It should never be that way. But then back to, giving breaks for Walmart and whatever. Walmart has to do more fundraisers for their own employees to feed them, their families and pay their bills and stuff. And just pay them a living wage. Just pay them a good wage. And then stop giving money to your shareholders. They're already rich. Give it back to your employees. I mean, nothing makes me happier than reading about a company that is invested in their employees, that's doing well. And there are a lot of them out there. I don't have any off the top of my head, but there are a lot of them out there. And they're good companies. And they're companies, when you do business with them, you feel good about yourself. And they're not amplifying the fear or the rhetoric or the BS or whatever else you want to call it. And yeah, even I get angry. I know people find that hard to believe, but I do. And this whole thing, well, I really can't say it disappoints me. It disappoints me that we let it get this far, that we all let it get this way. And we need to really sit back and look at ourselves and look at how we want this world to be. Because none of us are better than anybody else. None of us. We have to rethink. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
No, go ahead. We have to rethink.
We have to rethink our priorities and the way we see life. I'm not better than anybody else, but I'm not less than anybody else either. We're all... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
One of the things is that, you would almost swear that politicians have an immorality clause. You can't stay in office unless you're a little immoral. Unless I'm just saying. But one of the things is that, some of these people that are having regrets and say, I was being told these lies. And some of them still don't think they're lies, but I was being told these lies. But I was also being whipped up in the fact of my America is going to go away. They're going to come and take my house, or I'm going to lose my just share, or I'm going to have to work and support all these lazy people that don't have jobs and they don't have to work because we're supporting them. And this is what those libtards are doing, is they're making us poor folk work our butts off so we can support the other people who don't want to work because they think they're too good. No, none of that's true. None of that's true. And there are many people that would work really hard if they could get a job and actually be treated respectfully and would have a job that maybe would inspire them or motivate them, or just pay them a living wage. But one of the things that irritates me here, and I'm okay with it because it should irritate me, is those people that in a moment of fever are going to get their lives ruined in cases. Some of them have lost jobs and careers. Some of them will go to jail. They're going to be there. Let me tell you, there will be people whose lives are absolutely ruined because they believe their politicians' lies. But if we don't stay irritated and motivatedly angry, not just uselessly angry, stomping around, having a temper tantrum, not unless you're running for president, and I guess for some people that's the only way you should get elected. Oh, sorry, I didn't say that. Is that motivated, angry, that we are going to insist for the change. Because you watch, they're going to do everything they can to try to avoid holding these politicians who are ultimately responsible for great pieces of this, because they went to these rallies, they said these words, they spread these lies, they incited people who were feeling desperate or were feeling disenfranchised or who were having issues because of COVID and the panic and maybe their job, and they didn't know what to believe, and and there was no unified message from the government about like how to not get sick or what to do, and there were billions of dollars set aside to help these people that never even got allotted out. Millions of dollars never even got allotted out to help people. And sometimes bigger companies or holding companies or whatever got money, and the individual entrepreneur closed their doors because the program was so odious, or they couldn't get it. Or, I read something in the Times the other day about, like this person got $1, this person got $88, this person got, right? These are honest to goodness, hardworking entrepreneurs, right? But we see the other side. No, we have to hold the correct people accountable, and they will throw. And Trump has already started throwing some of those people to the dogs. He's throwing Rudy to the dogs, and I feel bad for the dogs. I mean, you should never make dogs eat tainted meat. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Yes.
Okay. But,
that's good.
These politicians are going to squirm, and they're going to lie, and they're going to twist it out, and they're going to try to point it out. And while their constituents are going to jail for listening to them, they're going to vote themselves another raise. Now, one of the things I'm very happy is all of these companies that have cut off funding for the Republicans in both houses that kept this sham going and decided and was involved in it, and they have been cut off by a lot of major donors, and that's hitting them where they hurt.
Yeah, but that should have been done a long time ago.
I agree, but I'll take what I can get right now. I'm not going to settle for table scraps, but I'll start with table scraps. Because some of these people, there will be no sadness if they tear each other apart. I saw two conservative commentators on an interview, and each one is rallying at the other one. Well, do you regret voting, voting for him now? Well, blah, blah, blah. And I voted for the platform. Oh, so you don't think that the person in the platform, as long as it's these conservative, they were on CNN being interviewed. I think it was by Don Lemon. I'm trying to remember. It was a little video I saw. But these conservatives were going for each other's throat, trying to throw each other under the bus about, them doing this. I'm voting for Trump, and he's the best thing that ever happened in this country, and then promoted the steal the election thing afterwards. Now, I want them all to be held accountable because the American people are paying the price over and over and over again. Go ahead.
Right. No, absolutely. You're right. We're paying the price. And this whole call for unity and let this go, that's a typical abuser's tactic. Make you feel like you're the bad guy now. After they abuse you, they make you feel like the bad guy. No. Yep. Hold them accountable. Fire them. Charge them all with treason, especially the ones giving the illegal tours at the Capitol, because they weren't even allowed to give tours. So that's right up conspiracy. That's being part of the conspiracy to storm the Capitol. When you're showing them, the one tweeting out people's locations live during the attack should be charged with treason and thrown in prison. Or, as you said, you're all for the death penalty, then good. You get it applied to you and see how you like it. Because, a lot of innocent people died on death row. And Trump's trying to kill many more people. One guy was proven innocent, and they still will not let him out of jail. They're still going to kill him by the time Trump leaves office. Yep. So we need to hold people accountable and apply their standards back to them. Okay, treason, you die. Treason, you die. That's your standard.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
If you engage in treason against this country, high crimes and treason, if you are involved with trying to overthrow a legitimate election, I see the gallows in your future, and I think it's perfectly justified. You have betrayed your oath of office. You have betrayed the American people. I don't care how well you want to justify it. Even if there was some irregularity, encouraging, supporting, and helping and abiding people to go after, to try to intimidate and commit violence and perhaps even kill our politicians, that is treason. Period. So, next week, we will have Rob Stewart from InnerCenter.org on talking about the upcoming astrology. Lori will be back with her quiet, mild-mannered, never get angry, sweet-talking girl that she is. Right here next week on the Dr. Kevin Show here at OMTimes.